Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Welcome to my recap of 90 Day Fiancé The Other Way. This is season 1, episodes 17 and 18. We have Shattered Dreams and Torn. You guys, I'm back. I know you have missed me. I have missed you guys so much, but it's so hard to get into the rhythm of filming and editing and watching all over again. I had to watch like 6 episodes. Between all of the shows that I review, I had to watch 6 episodes in 3 days, and it was really hard. Some of these people were getting on my nerves, but we're gonna talk about it in this episode. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to check out my merch down below and comment along. All right, let's start with our first couple because it is the first thing that's on my brain, is Laura and Aladin. We are in the midst of a 3-day Tunisian wedding, and Aladin is just really happy. He is ready for this wedding. He is excited to marry Laura. I don't know why, but he is. And I'm starting to get a little annoyed with Laura. Like, ever since we found out from Liam that she has given him too much information about her love life and that he is just stubbornly doesn't want to deal with his mother and her new husband, I'm kind of torn. Like, I feel like Laura might be wasting Aladin's time. Like, I feel like, I don't know, but we later on find out that they do have a plan for the reason why I feel like she's wasting his time. So let's go back to the beginning. Liam gets there and he has an awkward conversation with Aladin, who is doing his very best to try to make Liam feel welcome. He's doing it for his wife. And Aladin says, "You want to go inside and meet my family?" And Liam's like, "No, I don't want to." Liam has flown halfway across the world to be rude. Okay? He thinks he's not being rude though. You know what I'm saying? And with that dumbass hat, I have dubbed him Crocodile Dumbass Liam because that is what he looks like. He looks like Crocodile Dundee, but instead of Dundee, he's a dumbass and his name is Liam. The next day, we have day 1 of the festivities and Liam's like, "I don't want to go. I'm too tired. I'm jet lagged." Laura goes to his hotel room and is like, "Liam, please just show up for like an hour and then you can leave." And he's like, "No, I don't want to go. I'm not feeling well. I don't feel like dancing." And she's like, "Why aren't you doing this for me? I brought you here so that you can be a support for me and you're not doing that." And he's like, "You know what, Mom? I'm sick of all of your exes. I'm sick of going through this drama with you." Laura gets upset, she leaves, and she starts to cry in the hallway and she's just like, "My son just won't be there for me." And Liam feels no way. He feels completely justified in his behavior. I'm assuming that his ticket was free because there is no way that I would pay however much money it takes and take however many planes and layovers and do whatever to get to Tunisia to just sit up in a hotel room. I mean, the hotel room looked nice, but I don't think that he was ordering room service and like living that luxury hotel life. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least go out and meet the fam and sit down if you don't want to dance, and smile. Like, come on. Your mom is doing the Lord's work. You should do the Lord's work too. So Laura gets to the party finally. Aladin is annoyed with her because everybody's been asking him where she is and he doesn't know. And so she's trying to explain that she was talking to Liam, and Aladin is like, "Why is your son being a big baby? Like, what's going on?" And she's just like, "He's just not feeling well. Don't push me right now, Aladin. Like, it's fine. I'm coming out there. I'll be out there soon." So she goes out there dressed in a beautiful like aqua blue situation, and she starts to just save face and do what she needs to do to be around Aladin's family. So then the next day, day 2 of the wedding, is the more formal event where she is dressed head to toe in like gold and green and red, and she looks beautiful, but she is low-key talking shit about the fact that she looks like a Christmas tree. Talks about how they have to have dark hair and like red lips, and I'm just like, I'm sorry sis, there is no one in Tunisia who has skin color or hair color the way you do, so they're just doing the best they can with what they know to do. If you have an alternative, if you went on Instagram and tried to figure out how a blonde does it, then maybe that would be better. But come on, don't criticize these people. I mean, the first hurdle of you being 51 years old has already been crossed. The family already accepts you. Like, just let go of everything else you are feeling, because to me, the family accepting her and her age is the biggest hurdle to get over. She is already in the promised land and she's complaining while she's there, and it's annoying. She's like, "I have to wear 50 pounds of this and I can't be by my husband because my husband is next to his mom counting the money that everybody's bringing." So Apparently what happens is day 2, she sits on a chaise lounge with a pillow underneath her feet, just adorned head to toe in jewelry and beautiful colors. And all she has to do is sit there and look good, and people come up to her and take pictures. And her husband is sitting next to his mom, and people are coming up and bringing money. And there's an announcer who's making an announcement saying, hey, you know, Jamal, brother of the bride, gave 500 denarii. And everyone's like, woo! I mean, this sounds exciting. I mean, I know it might be like tiring, but girl, do what you gotta do. But she also is feeling a little down because Liam, crocodile dumbass Liam, has decided that he's not coming to this event either because he has diarrhea. And so she's defending Liam and his behavior, and Aladin is annoyed with it. He wants her to just to be straight up and tell him like what's going on with Liam. And so in a scene where she's getting some henna done, she ends up telling him that Liam doesn't want to be there because he doesn't agree with the wedding, and he thinks that Aladin is just like the rest of the other guys. Now, personally, do I think she should have told Aladin that during the wedding festivities? No. I think she should have gotten there and got a belt and whipped Liam. I know he's 22 years old, but he doesn't have a choice in this matter. Like, this is not a time for him to exert his I'm an only child pouty behavior, and it's just bad form. So she's saying that, making excuses, and finally she just tells Aladin. So then Aladin's like, okay. On the 3rd day, they go to a spa, and it's supposed to be a day of relaxing, and you know, you're supposed to be with your boys and your family. And so he invites Liam, and Liam finally agrees to go to some kind of event, and he calls Liam out on it. And Liam is like, no, I didn't say that. And then he's like, no, your mom told me that that's what happened, and so let's talk about it. And Liam is like, yeah, you know what, you're right. That's how I feel. I don't think that you're right for my mom, and I don't want this to be a thing. And then Aladin's like, I love your mom. We love each other. Come on, man. This is our wedding. Like, why don't you like this? Why don't you like me? What did I do to you? And Liam is just like, oh, this sounds like a stepfather conversation. And Aladin is like, this is not a stepfather conversation. I'm 30, you're 22. I don't want to be your stepfather. That's impossible. Like, that's not going to happen. What I'm asking you is to have a conversation with me man to man regarding you being a big baby at our wedding and making this sad for me and your mom. More importantly, your mom, who is happy. And he's like, look, my mom has done all kinds of stuff you don't know. And he's like, look, I want to start a family with your mom, and I want everything to be okay between you and I. And Liam is like, no. My mom can't have a baby. It's dangerous for her. Aladin's like, no, we went to the doctor in Qatar and they said it's possible that your mom can have a baby. And Liam is like, I draw the line at my mother having a baby. And Aladin's like, why? You don't think I want to have kids? Crocodile dumbass Liam is like, no, because then my mom's not going to pay attention to me. She already has a kid she needs to take care of and do things for, and she's not going to be able to help me grow up. And Aladin's like, you're 22. You're already grown up. You're not a baby. And he's like, my mom won't have any time for me if she has another baby. And my thing is like, crocodile dumbass Liam, if your mom is going to have another baby, she's already going to be in Qatar. She's going to give you the same amount of attention. She's going to Skype you probably the same amount of times. It's not like she's going to be living in Florida with you. She's already going to be away from you. So what do you mean? And he's like, oh, well, she won't have money to give me. And Aladin's like, don't worry about your mother's money. I'll take care of my child. Your mother will still have time for you. She'll still have money for you. But also, you're a grown-ass man. I'm done with Liam. Liam puts on his dumb hat and he leaves the spa. And that's the end of the conversation with Aladin. Aladin says, look, I'm not going to beg him. I'm doing the best that I can. He's a grown man. And if he doesn't want to understand what's going on and he wants to stay stubborn, that's fine. I don't care about him. He's being rude. And I'm staunchly on Aladin's side. And I think that Laura needs to take a long, good, hard look at how she raised her son. I understand that the man is hurt, but like that whole thing about she can't have another kid because she won't have time for me, that's a little crazy. All right, so the next couple that we are going to talk about is Cory and Evelyn. So it's really sad because Cory had to go back home because his father died, which is like heartbreaking. We saw his father like a couple episodes ago on the show, and then it's the worst. And so his mother, I feel for the entire family. And honestly, Cory is torn between going back to Ecuador to be with Evelyn and staying home to like assume the position of man of the house. And he chooses to go back to see Evelyn because he really loves her, and the mom gives her blessing and says that that's what dad would want. But honestly, if I were Cory, I would have just stayed home. It's obvious Evelyn doesn't want to marry him, and obviously Evelyn also doesn't want to move back to the States, and so Cory is in effect leaving, you know, other people to take care of the family. And I just personally wouldn't do it. I'm not necessarily judging him because he's choosing. I'm saying I couldn't do it. 3 weeks out of the 3 months he had on his visa, he spent it back in the US. So he has to go back and try to convince, which is a terrible way of saying it, convince Evelyn to marry him in order for him to stay there. He's going to give her that last opportunity. And so Evelyn's been really supportive with him during this time. They face chat and he tells her that he's coming the next day, and she's like, really? And he's like, yeah, you didn't know that? And she's like, oh, no, okay, I guess. He gets to the airport and he's really excited because she actually showed up to be there with him. So Evelyn's really kind of changed her tune, you know? She's not the cold-hearted snake that we once thought she was. And he is so in love with her. You can just tell. And she's just like lukewarm in love with him, you know? And they get back to their place, and she's cooking him dinner, and he's trying to help her, and he, you know, she tells him to sit down, and she says, you know, I blocked my ex on everything. And he's like, really, what happened? Did you guys get in a fight? She's like, no, I haven't talked to him. And that to me would have normally sparked an argument, but she really is trying to be better. And she was just like, no, I haven't talked to him, honey. I understand how he makes you feel, and I just want things to work out with us. So of course, I just stopped talking to him and I let it go. And I was like, good for you, Evelyn, because if this had been Evelyn 6 weeks ago, she would have tried to read Cory his rights and then been upset about it. So I feel like she's growing and maturing and being better, and I like it. Now, she staunchly says that she does not want to get married. So I don't know how this is going to work out. We will have to see. So the next couple that we're going to talk about is Tiffany and Ronald. So the last episode I saw with Tiffany and Ronald is him cussing at her in the car about the debit card because she wants to go with him to do something, and then she ends up forgetting the credit card at home, and he gets so pissed off at her. He cusses her out, and she then cusses back at him, and then they get back to the house, and she has a very tearful conversation with him, and he apologizes to her, and she's like, no, your apology is not good enough. That's like me calling you a piece of shit and telling you that you'll never do well in life, and then 5 minutes later just saying I'm sorry. You've already said the words and you can't take it back. I need you to understand that you put me through a lot, and I threw everything on the line in the face of my family and my common sense, and I still moved here and married you 8 days out of being out of rehab. So if I say that I need to have control of the finances, you just need to let me have control of the finances, because I'm the one that's putting everything on the line for you, and I don't trust you yet. I love you, but I don't trust you. And he's just like, I want to put it all in the past, and it feels like you're just bringing up the past. And she's like, I cannot put it in the past, because the past is what got us here. So no, you can't just ignore what you did to try to just move on and be a better person. You are going to have to acknowledge that this past happened, and that the people around you are not going to trust you. And then the next scene I see with them is that they go to the hospital, right? Because she doesn't have insurance in South Africa, so she's going to have to go to a public hospital or pay a lot to go to a private hospital. And so this seems weird to me, because in the States we have public and private hospitals as well. And so I didn't really know what to expect. And then he says that he's never been to a public hospital. And then that makes me go, okay, so either you guys are rich, or you're of the social class and the social economic status that allows that to be an option for you. So he wants to show her what it would be like to go into a public hospital. And he says, but don't worry, we'll have the baby in a private hospital because I'll get the money. And as soon as he says that, I know it sends off a trigger in my brain, and it probably sent off a trigger in her brain. Like, what are you going to do to make this money? Please don't do anything stupid to try to make this money to go to a private hospital. They go to this public hospital, and it is just the saddest situation. They show the maternity ward. They talk about overcrowding. And I don't know if they're just looking at this one. Maybe this one is a bad one. But I didn't like that. I didn't like how it was either doing one of two things. It's going to get me to try to like donate to public hospitals in South Africa to figure it out. I mean, I don't have nothing but $25. You know what I'm saying? But like, the government needs to do better. They absolutely need to do better. There's overcrowding, and sometimes you don't have, and because of that, the partner can't be in the space. It's just all these women in labor sitting next to each other, like with curtain dividers, just suffering without a loved one. I'm feeling a ways about it, and I don't know how to explain why I'm feeling a ways about it. So there's that. We're going to move on from them. I think she's going to decide to have her baby in the US. I think she's just going to be like, look, I can't have it in a private because I don't trust that you're going to get the money by legal means. And two, we can't have it in a public because it's not okay. You know, what if something happens to the baby? What if something goes wrong? Like, no. So I'm sure she's gonna say, I have to go to the US and have this baby. Okay, so the next couple that we're gonna talk about is Devon and Jihoon. So girl, Devon has a rude awakening with Jihoon. He is not the person that he claimed to be. I feel like he's like a mama's boy, fuck boy, all rolled into one. Like, he just 30 years old, doesn't have a career, doesn't have a solid job, and he's the only child, still living with his family in a very small apartment, and then tells her he's gonna do all these things and does none of these things. Save money, find an apartment. Also, she's a fool for thinking that he's gonna just be able to do that. I don't know why she thought it's expensive in the US just to like go out and get a job and find an apartment. But she's also in Utah where it might be easier. When I think of Korea, I think of there being like limited space as far as like in the big cities go, and so apartments being very expensive. And the only reason why I think that is because I have a cousin who lives in Japan, and he was like explaining to me like how expensive it is to live in the major city and get an apartment. Like, it isn't super cheap, which is probably why Jihoon's parents live in such a small apartment that they live in, and why Jihoon hasn't moved out and done his own thing. It's because it's not as cheap and easy and, you know, accessible to do as one might think or hope. He makes that whole comment about the bidet, about all of his family having very clean anuses, which is hilarious. The next day, like, he isn't very helpful. Like, he was supposed to sleep in the room with Devon on the floor and help her with the baby at night, but the dog was barking, so he got up and slept on the couch with the dog. And then a couple nights later, they go out to hang out with his friends, and they sit down at like a tent bar and they drink soju, and she's been knocking back soju, you know, so she is good and saucy. So she has all of the skill now to ask all the questions she needs to ask. So she asks his friends, you know, like, hey, is he still in debt? Is he still doing the illegal thing? And they said, they're kind of awkward because I feel like she's being very brass and bold American, which probably isn't the same, you know, way of being in Korea. But they think it's great that he's found this American woman, so they're kind of enamored that she's like this beautiful American, blue-eyed, dark-haired woman, you know. And so they are uncomfortable, but they do answer her questions, and they say, you know, you have to trust Jihoon and that he is doing better now. And then to us, to the confessionals, they say that Jihoon cannot keep money in his pocket to save his life. If he gets money, he spends it that very day. And so we know now Jihoon has problems with money. Then the next day they go to get married, and it's just going into the office and signing a paper and done, their marriage. She does say that she wants to have a wedding at some point, but right now, in order for her to stay in the country and go through that visa process, they do have to get married. And she says that she hasn't known him for very long, but he is the father of her son, and so she's gonna do it. So she says, though, before we get married, you need to agree that I'm managing the finances. And he's a little annoyed because he's telling her that she's being very, very silly by worrying. And she's like, okay, but I still need to manage the finances. And he says, okay. And she says, 100%. And he says, okay. So they go in, they get married, they come out, and they talk to the cameras. And he says, how much do you trust me? And she says 75%. And he's like, you love me only 75%? And she's like, no, I love you 100%. And he's like, well, I love you 200%. And I'm just like, okay, Jihoon. It's gonna be hard for him to give up, you know, control to her, but she's gonna need to have it. And I don't think she's wrong at all. At all. She got herself into a silly situation, but, you know, she needs to make sure that things are good because she's got to bring Drusilla over at some point. I really hope that she does not bring Drusilla over until they get their own apartment. So the last couple that we're going to talk about is Paul and Karini. So Paul sees the birth of his kid. Karini actually lets him into the room for it. He is enamored. He's excited because he can tell the baby is his because the baby has blue eyes. But like, girl, I think all babies have blue eyes when they're born. Oh, this is not the last couple. We still have Jenny and Sumit. His mother comes, and his mother has never been out of the country. He doesn't meet her at the airport for some reason. She takes a cab. But she gets there and she meets that baby and she is in love. She is so happy meeting Karini, and she says Karini is beautiful. Karini's really trying to, like, you know, use her English to talk to the mom. And she's holding the baby and she just loves Pierre. His name is Pierre. I love that name. Pierre is just the cutest thing. He looks like he's about 2 months, maybe 3. Grandma is in love. She really is. And she thinks it's such a blessing and she's so happy to be there. She's like, the surroundings are a little weird. Not what I'm used to, but okay. I did notice that she did have like a heat pack. She came with a heat pack, and that almost like, you know, 5 minutes into their segment, her hair was like plastered to her head. So Paul is either super used to the heat and like isn't hot and sweaty, or mom's going through it somehow, because her hair was plastered. So I can't wait to see next episode with her and her having conversations with Paul, because she did tell Karini that Karini needs to make Paul help her. And Karini says right now Paul isn't helping her. So I think mom needs to really explain to Paul like what it is that he needs to do. And I think it's also comforting for mom to be there, because he started crying when he saw his mom like fall in love with his son. So I think mom being there for at least, I don't know how long she's going to be there, is going to be very helpful for Karini, and so does Karini. She feels like mom is going to be able to help her with Paul, and mom is also going to be able to help her with Pierre, and I'm happy for that. I'm grateful for that. I hope they keep the house clean. Okay. So, the last couple, for sure, this time, what we're going to talk about is Jenny and Sumit. Girl, the reveal that Sumit has a wife and has been married for 2 years is the best reveal on TV. And I can honestly say that I was pissed off that somebody spoiled it for me. People keep tagging me in shit, and I don't want to be tagged in any spoilers on 90 Day Fiancé. I'm so annoyed that in the back of my mind, I have information and spoilers about Jenny and Sumit, and I don't want it, because it would have been such a hot, you know, makes me so sad. You guys, don't tag me in any spoilers, please. I want to watch the show and enjoy what the producers have given me, because I know most of it is produced and made up and not real and not really what happened, right? And I love to be able to go, that sounds like a producer made up thing, but also this seems real. Like Paul and Karini seem very real to me, because Paul actually has problems, right? But I like to discover it myself. I don't want to like go deep into like Starcasm or go deep into Frauded by TLC. I love those pages, and I will look at them after the season is done, but while the season is going on, I don't want spoilers, because the show is, to me, more fun without them. I'm never going to be a person that's like really trying to dig into these people's lives. I don't follow any of them on Instagram. Like maybe Larissa's the only person I follow. Oh, I know. I follow Pedro and Chantel and Larissa, and I think that's it. But otherwise, I don't follow anyone, because I don't want to know. You know, maybe I follow Jenny and Sumit too, because I really like them. Anyways, okay, so the story is that the producers say is that for some reason they weren't in India, and Jenny calls frantically crying, and they hop on the next plane to India, and she tells them that it has gone down, that she is in her apartment minding her own business. I guess Sumit was there and he left, and then the doorbell rang, so she went and answered it, and it was Sumit and his father-in-law. And this man says to her, "Hi, Jenny, I'm Sumit's father-in-law." And Jenny's taken aback, and they come into the apartment, and she says Sumit is looking really scared, and I guess that they followed Sumit to the apartment and then caught him on his way back out and made him like have this conversation with him. And basically he says, you need to leave Sumit alone because he's married to my daughter for 2 years. And Jenny's just like taken aback and doesn't know what to do. And I guess she goes into the room to try to like have a conversation, but they won't let it happen. So she goes into the room by herself because she's like worried and scared. She doesn't know what's going to happen. There's 2 men in her apartment. One of them is very upset with her, and one of them is the cowardly lion. And then she all of a sudden hears a ruckus in her house, and she goes out, and it is the entire family. It is Sumit's parents. It's both parents-in-law. It's like a cousin. I don't know if the wife is there. It's got to be really embarrassing for her. And they're all yelling, and they're all pointing fingers at her. And like his mother broke the shrine in the house, and she gets really scared, and she goes to try to grab Sumit, and they won't let her grab Sumit because she wants to have a conversation with him. And Sumit's like in the fight stance trying to fight somebody, and they just drag him out, and they basically tell her, if you don't leave Sumit alone, we're going to file charges against you that you're living with a married man. And she doesn't know the laws in India, so she's just really scared and doesn't know what to do. And I'm just like, this has got to be like, oh my God. Oh my God. It's crazy. He's been telling her that he's loved her for the last 6 years, and 4 years into their courtship, he is arranged marriage to somebody else, and he goes through with it and then doesn't tell her at all at any point. Lets her move there and doesn't tell her. So Sumit is a jerk, but I think that he really loves her, and I think that he just really wanted to try to make this shit work, and it was a fantasy world. But he wasted her time, and it pisses me off that he did it. But at the same time, it shows to me how much he really did love her, which is in a crazy way. And I think that's what Jenny is feeling. So she goes on Skype and talks to her daughter, and her daughter is blown away and is like, Mom, you need to come home right away. And she's like, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And she's like, Mom. And she's like, but I want to make sure that Sumit is okay and that he's not in jail. Producers are able to talk to Sumit, and it turns out that Sumit's family has forbidden him from seeing Jenny, and that his parents-in-law have just said to him, they've threatened him with saying that they're gonna file a complaint against him. Then we have a conversation with Sumit and his friends because Sumit's family has declined to be a part of the show. So Sumit's friend says that he knew that Sumit was married, and Sumit asked him not to talk about it because the show was coming to India to do the show. And like, that is the thing that's the extra bananas layers on the cake. Is that he knew a camera crew was coming to follow him and Jenny and go through this story, and for some reason he still thought he was going to be able to hide that marriage. I want to know if he has kids. Does he have sex with his wife? Do they have kids? It was an arranged marriage, right? Which is very common and typical in Indian culture, which to me, I don't have a problem with. I feel like arranged marriages are great, you know, unless the people really don't want to be in one, which is Sumit's issue, right? But I don't necessarily, I'm not against them. I don't think they're barbaric. I don't feel like, oh, you shouldn't force people to get married. Like, people do arranged marriages so that families and lineages can move forward. And when you have the support of both sides of your family, it's great. Now, things are shitty when like your husband is abusive, and I think women can get out of relationships if they're abusive, which is what they're gonna try to do, right? So Sumit's friend says, I told you this was going to be a mess. I don't know why you did this. And Sumit's like, I know. And then the friend says to the cameras, like, this is what can happen. They can't do anything to Jenny, but they can do something to Sumit and to Sumit's family. They can file a lawsuit or a report saying that Sumit is abusive, saying that the family is unsupportive, saying whatever, in order to get them in trouble. They could lie and say that because it isn't illegal for Sumit to have an affair. That's not a reason to get out of a relationship, but a reason is abuse or something like that, right? So they would have to lie in order to get the family in trouble. So now it's not just Sumit, it's his family that can get in trouble, right? It's a whole family affair, these arranged marriages. And so Sumit's like, I would rather be in prison than be married. Absolutely be okay with getting in trouble, and I would go to jail for however long, and then I would come out and marry Jenny. And I'm just like, this man really loves her. It's a lot. And it's a great storyline, and it's great TV, and I'm so pissed that somebody spoiled it for me. But it's great TV, and you know, I'm rooting for them still. He's a dirtbag, low-key, especially to his wife, but like, who knows how she feels? I want to know how she feels. Because it's unfair to her. And I don't know if she's going to be blemished for this. It's really Sumit's parents' fault. They forced him to marry her when they knew that he was in love with someone else. And that because that someone else had already been to their house. They knew Jenny. Jenny stayed with them for 3 months, and they still forced him to marry somebody else. So as much as it's Sumit's fault, it's also the family's fault too. They put this upon themselves by trying to force this situation to happen. Now, did they know that Sumit would do what he wanted to do anyway? Probably not, because he's been lying to everybody. But all right, you guys, so that is the end of this episode. Let's have a kiki and a conversation down in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of this episode. I thought it was really good. 90 Day the Other Way, to me, is a perfect series. It's only an hour. It's high drama and good TV, girl. Good TV. All right, remember to check out my merch below. Give this video a thumbs up. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Remember to be you, be true, and find your place. Bye. Oh, if you wanted to know what lipstick I'm wearing Matte Amour by Milani. You guys know I love me a Milani lipstick, and the color is Vixen. It's number 51.